Ding ding.
Oh, no. Don't ever do that again.
Why, you didn't like my ding ding?
See, I did that last week. You said the same thing.
Oh, okay. All right.
Don't
all
ever
right.
do that
All right,
again.
we're even.
I didn't even think you saw the intro coming. I think you were in the middle of, I think you opened your mouth to talk and I just
Yeah, I saw the
rolled it.
video start. I was like, what you drinking?
I'm glad you asked.
Got something new?
Black cherry wine that
Hey,
my
I
dad
got
made.
black cherry water.
There you go. My dad didn't ferment your water though. He fermented my wine.
There you go.
He's on a wine kick. I think he's got like over 100 and something bottles.
Really? Holy
Yeah.
cow.
Yeah.
Going to town over there.
Yeah. Hobbies, man. COVID hobbies.
Right. Is he retired?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, there you go. They always got to find something to do. I can't wait to get to that point in my life.
He's got a still ordered off of Amazon.
Nice.
I'm trying to get him on to get off the wine and start making
Make some whiskey. Hell yeah.
Bourbon. Come on, just do it.
Z-Man.
What
Hello,
up?
Shelly.
Hey, Shelly, baby. So, welcome to episode number 161 of Mirrorless Minutes. And I'm excited to talk about what I'm talking about tonight. So I'm hoping I don't talk over the top of Jerry a lot tonight. So if I do,
hey, do what you got to do, man.
I'm just going to apologize in advance. So a few things coming up for me that I'll be talking about in a little bit. And I know Jerry said he wasn't sure if he had stuff to share this week. I know he's been on three wheels a lot lately, and it's not because he's turning corners fast. So,
shoot, I've been traveling a lot for work, man.
Yeah, that's
holy
true.
Cow.
Yeah, so you've been traveling for work, but you also got a new toy.
I sure did.
You have pictures of that to share, right?
I probably got a couple. Yeah, I gotta send them to my computer. I don't got them on my computer.
Well, you'll have to get working on that. I'll tell you what. I'll just get blabbing about what I want to talk about.
There you go.
And you go digging through your pictures. But again, I just want to give a shout out to my dad. Thank you for the bottles of wine. It's really good. I'm hoping that glass doesn't get me a little slurry in my talking tonight. Hey, how's it going? Mo Henning, and I'm not sure who C. Schlager is, but what's up? Is it Christine from the UP workshop? Maybe. So anyways, let me just jump right into this. So the whole point of the title for this week's show is that I have bags packed, which include clothes, not just camera gear. And I am leaving tomorrow for my first ever legit storm chasing trip.
You're going tomorrow?
Leaving tomorrow.
Driving?
Yeah. So I've been wanting to go on a Plains States storm chase for probably 10 years. Hey, how's it going, Marty? And just decided it has to be a last minute kind of a thing because they can only forecast out so far. And so I've already kind of, clued my employer into the fact that there might be times coming up where I'm going to be a little last minute on putting in for some PTO or vacation time. And I saw earlier in the week, they had been forecasting for a potential weather system that was going to maybe end up in Oklahoma, northern Texas. And I thought, maybe I'll do that one. I started looking at flights, and flights were actually a lot more than I thought they'd be for such a short distance. I mean, I could fly to Utah or Vegas for less. So I wasn't sure if I would do it, being that it wasn't such a sure thing. And then as the week progressed, the forecast kind of solidified, and it looks like they are going to have some good weather. At least I call it good weather in Kansas on Saturday. So decided to rent a car, and Mark Miller decided he's going to go too. He got time off last minute. He's actually working some of Friday, I guess. So we're going to jump in a car and we're going to drive to Kansas Friday and probably get just into Kansas, later Friday night and crash wherever we can crash. I'll probably even take a sleeping bag. If I have to sleep in the car, I sleep in the car if we can't find a hotel or something. But get up bright and early on Saturday morning, assess what the latest weather models are saying, and then take off storm chasing. It looks like it might stack up to be a pretty decent storm chase also. And we're going to do that all day Saturday into Saturday night. Probably shooting whatever structure there is during the day. I've talked endlessly on the show about wanting to shoot like supercells, the big crazy anvil topped cloud structures, that sometimes produce tornadoes. So we're hoping that some supercells are produced in Kansas from this system. And once night falls, hopefully chasing lightning as well. So that's.
Have you done your research on locations to shoot as a foreground or?
No. And the reason is that we're looking at a big section of Kansas, basically from center of Kansas eastward
It's empty
over
or
to
something.
Missouri. And it's pretty, wide open, but I mean, we're going to have to be doing a lot of on the fly decision making, just depending on where the storms track. I've done a lot of time. It doesn't matter, but I've spent a lot of time just cruising down the streets on Google Street View and things like that, just to get an idea of what the geography looks like in a few different regions, And I know that I'm literally seeing this much of a huge state, but I think it'll work out pretty good. I probably will see if Mark will bring his piece of driftwood so that we can throw that out in a field. No, but I think it's going to be an interesting experience, and this will be my first, again, like legit Plains States storm chase. So I'm planning on going at least one more time this year as the storm season really ramps up. We're in a weird time right now with weather, so there's a lot of cold air. I'm sure everybody in Michigan knows about that, and it's dipping pretty far down into the country as well. So it feels like the storm season stalled out a little bit. It's going to get a later start. So this will at least wet my feet, and it'll give me some practical experience on how to navigate and track and chase weather. So pretty pumped on that. And
nice.
And as far as the preparation and planning for something like this, I've spent probably the last several years just getting more involved in watching weather videos on YouTube. There's a ton of good educational material for storm spotters. So if you just type in NWS for like National Weather Service storm spotter training on YouTube, there is a ton of stuff that is put out to basically educate you on, things to look for as far as how to determine if a storm is potentially going to drop a tornado, how to read a radar, what different weather conditions will spawn what kinds of weather, hail, and things like that. So,
Dude, just build your own storm chasing mobile.
So I'm part of a Facebook group, the Midwest Storm Chasers group, and they've been sharing photos of this guy's chase vehicle that looks like a tank. It's got
I'm sure
hydraulic plates that come down that kind of anchor it to the ground. So I don't know if we find people like that. I'm not going to go where they're going because I think they want to go like inside of a tornado. I just want to stay outside and just get like the big grand shots. And so the equipment that I'm packing for a trip like this, and we spoke about it before on, what I will take, because I'm renting a car and I can bring as much crap as I want. I decided on the EM1X because, again, I know and trust the weather sealing just because I've used it for years. And again, the live composite, I think if we're out shooting lightning at nighttime, especially, the live composite will come in super handy, and even the Pro Capture during the day. So it'll be the EM1X. I'm bringing the 8mm fisheye. I've been speaking with Jeffrey McFeeters. He lives in Kansas. Actually, he lives in the heart of where this is supposed to all develop, which is pretty wild. He suggested ultra wide. So I planned on just taking the 7-14, but after he suggested, something as wide as I can go, started digging around on Flickr for other storm chasing photos and things like that, and saw that a lot of people do shoot with things that are excessively wide, just so you can get the entire structure, because these do go up 30,000 plus feet into the sky. So I brought the 8mm 1.8 fisheye, the 7 to 14, the 12 to 100, which will probably stay on 99% of the time, I think. And Jeffrey suggested I bring the 40 to 150 and teleconverter, because sometimes, the storm might be way off out into fields and you're stuck on a road way back here. And if it does drop a tornado or something like that, you want to have some kind of reach so that you can get in and actually get some, cooler, closer shots. So took his advice and I packed that. And then I bring in the Sony kit and I'm not going to miss a shot for nothing. I'll probably run time lapses on one and stills on the Sony until it gets to be nighttime, of course. But the Sony, I bought a new A7R3. So I'll leave the A7 III at home, and I'm bringing the higher megapixel count camera again, so that if I need to crop in, I can still crop in like 100% on that thing and still get like a 20 megapixel image with tons of detail. So Sony A7 III, and I've mentioned a million times on the show what lenses I use with the Sony. It's the 3 Tamron lenses, 17 to 28, 28 to 75, and 70 to 180. And then I also have the Samyang 14mm, and I have a Russian fisheye that I got from Shelly that is a manual focus fisheye that is just crazy. It's ridiculously wide. So I think I've got all the bases covered, and a GoPro so that I can vlog and document and run time lapses, out the dash and things like that. No, I am bringing a remote for the Sony. I don't foresee that I'll be using it. Probably a lot of things will just be handheld or time lapse and no need for triggers, but it's just part of my case. So I'll be bringing that as well, in addition to a rocket blower and sensor swabs for the Sony. It's so ridiculous, that camera, but that's the kit I'm bringing. I can't speak for Mark. 100 pounds of gear. Yeah, exactly. But it'll be sitting in the in the back of the vehicle. And for those curious about what you drive on a chase like this or something, I didn't cheap out and get a Ford Fiesta or something. A lot of the roads are gravel or dirt. So I got an all-wheel drive SUV, like a mid-size SUV. So at least we've got a little bit of space to throw all of our stuff, and hopefully a little traction if we're driving down gravel roads. So to answer or to respond to Dwayne's comment, yeah, it's probably 100 pounds of gear, but I bought a big enough vehicle to haul it in, hopefully. I do have to do a little research and find out tomorrow what the insurance liabilities are for me if we do encounter large hail.
Are you on the rental?
Yeah, I'm assuming I'm going to have to buy their insurance or whatever.
Right.
I don't want to get stuck with like $5,000 bill. And if we did, by some chance run into big hail, which is a possibility according to all the forecasts, 2-inch or larger hail. It's crazy. I've never really done anything like this, so it'll be interesting. What about you, Jerry? Any interest in doing something like that? Getting crazy and chasing
yeah, for sure.
storms of that capacity?
I mean, yeah, we shoot a lot of storms over here when they come across the lake. Storms are fun.
Yep.
And they seem like they're a lot more massive out there. So yeah, that'd be a good time.
I'm hoping so. I love shooting the storms on Lake Michigan because we can see them coming 30, 40 miles away.
Right.
And Jeffrey said it's kind of the same out there. You can see 20, 30 miles. It's flat. You can see forever.
I'm sure.
But the thing that I'm looking forward to the most is like when we're shooting on Lake Michigan, we're stationary. We just watch them and we hope they come this way or we hope they stay in this way.
Yeah, you can move around out there. Yeah, and get around them. And
yep. So I'm kind of curious to see.
That'll be different.
Yeah, to see what the storms look like from different perspectives.
Right.
Because they are very different from side to side. So from all the reading and research I've been doing. So it'll be kind of crazy and interesting.
Should be fun nonetheless. You get to do some traveling.
Yeah, I get to put some pins in my map on the wall for states I've never been in. Those traditionally for me have been flyover states. Right. So I'll at least get to visit or drive through, like Missouri and Kansas, potentially Oklahoma. I don't know where we'll end up at.
How long you gone for?
And that's the thing. This is a very short trip. We're leaving on Friday afternoon. We're chasing all day Saturday into Saturday night, getting up Sunday morning and making the drive back.
Oh,
Yeah. So we're doing a big
so
drive.
only shoot in one day?
One day, and then probably on the way back, because that same weather system, again, according to current forecasts, will be kind of tracking east, and a little bit of it will be up into a good chunk of Illinois, maybe even southern Michigan, potentially.
Right.
So we might just be riding the backside of that storm the whole way. So it'll just be interesting to see. To answer Mo's question, I have no experience with lightning triggers, and oh my gosh, I have watched every YouTube on like the Pluto trigger, and I can't remember the other two brands. There's a couple of brands, Myops, Pluto, and then there's another one. I've watched every video, and I don't need it for nighttime photography with the Olympus, obviously. And I kind of don't feel like I need it with the Sony either. You just run long exposures and set the intervalometer so that it shoots like a 20-second exposure. As soon as that exposure is done, I don't have noise reduction on the Sony. It just goes right into the next 20-second exposure. So you're shooting a lot of frames that are going to be empty versus using a lightning trigger, which is going to just capture just the frames with lightning. But to me, it's another piece of gear to get out, turn on. Seems like all of them synchronize with an app on a phone. So it's there's too many moving parts for me. So it'll just be Olympus and live composite. And then on the Sony intervalometer, I'll be in the same crew as Dave Behrens and, Walter Elliott and all these people we talk about in Michigan that shoot with Canon and Nikon, because that's generally how they're working. So I'm just following suit with what they do.
Right. Them guys been shooting lightning for years.
Yep. The hard way, the old way, but it works, and I'm taking my laptop. It'll be probably really the first time I've used my new laptop for like legit work. So, if we do have downtime Saturday night, then I'll probably be going through and culling out all the blank frames or the empty frames and just saving the lightning shots. Or maybe I save them all and make a crazy cool nighttime time lapse. I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Right.
For sure. I've got a lot to learn with the Sony when it comes to shooting that kind of stuff. So learning experience. And Dwayne says he picked up highly underrated Panasonic 14 millimeter 2.5. I know nothing about the Panasonic lenses, and I will completely take your word for it that it's great and underrated. Just never had experience with their lenses. So hopefully it works out good for you. Until you can afford the 7-14, he says. Yeah, it's definitely a pricier lens than that Panasonic for sure. The difference between 7 millimeters and 14 millimeters, when you see that, it's shocking. So you'll be glad, when you do eventually get that 7.
Would you take the 7-14 or the 12? The 12 is a 2.0.
And the 12, I feel like
it's sharper. Way smaller too. Oh, well, yeah, it's a prime, yeah.
So it just depends on what I'm doing. So for like Astro, I love the 12 millimeter. Oh my gosh.
Right.
So when you're shooting stars, for those people who don't have experience with shooting stars, when you're shooting them, lenses can create what's called a coma. So you kind of don't get a perfectly round circle. You get this almost like a little teardrop shape to the image or to the points of light, the stars. Some lenses kind of experience that more than others. The 12 millimeter doesn't really at all that I've seen. The 7-14, as you get kind of wider out into the frame, that coma and stigmatism shows up a lot more.
Right.
So Marty says in daylight, set pro capture with a remote and hold the button. Yeah, I'm telling you, that's what I'll be using the EM1X for daytime lightning. Pro capture is astounding for catching lightning. I'm looking forward to that. And Brian chimed in. He's bragging now.
The A1. So sandwiches will never look better.
Right. He's got the A1 for review today. So For those who don't know Brian Essler, he's one of the writers and editors at Photo Focus, and he gets a lot of cool toys to review. So he's got Sony's new A1, although he says that the memory card door is glued shut.
Why would they do that?
I don't know.
It doesn't have any internal memory.
Yeah, Dwayne, if the 12 is an option, I would hold out for the 7 to 14 just because it gives you a lot more variety. You've got the 12 millimeter focal length. You're going to lose a little bit of light because it's 2.8 versus f2, and it's not quite as
the 12 is
crisp
smaller,
as the
Dwayne.
12. Yeah, and it just depends on what your tastes are. I mean, Dwayne might not want to put all his gear in a fanny pack. It just depends on what you want to carry. But the 7 to 14 is amazing. Keep in mind, obviously, if you try to add filters, you're going to need crazy adapters for filters and stuff like that too. But they're both good lenses. I don't think you can buy a bad lens now. It's hard to buy a crappy lens.
Fuck. I mean, look at all them aftermarket lenses you've been buying, and they all look great.
Yeah, I mean, cheap, made in China, $400 85 millimeter 1.8.
Right.
And it's wicked good.
And lens is really nice.
And it focuses fast.
I saw they made something else too. I think they make a 35, I think.
Yeah, I think they do.
I saw something.
Yep. Yeah, they've got several different lenses out. That brand does, Viltrox. So, and of course, people who've been in photography for any length of time have heard of Samyang. So,
right.
They make dozens of different lenses for every camera, it seems like. So,
my gear keeps getting smaller and smaller. I've been shooting with my phone.
Dwayne says he can't hang tonight. It's date night, and he's getting the eyeball. I hope it's a seductive.
I'm not gonna ask.
Brother. Yeah. Enjoy your date night, buddy. Take care.
See
you. And I will be safe on my trip. I'm leaving 2 kids here. I mean, they're older kids, but I have to come back to them, so I'm gonna be safe. All right, I'll jump in and do a quick image share. Get these kind of out of the way. I had a fun week a week and a half or so of shooting photos, so I'll be glad to share these. And I want to share that. Boom. All right, back at the truck. It's again kind of becoming. It's my new barn. I've said it before on the show, and I'll keep saying it. It's what I like to call low-hanging fruit, easy spot to get to, close to home.
Do the doors open?
They do. I've been inside the truck.
You need to get some interior shots.
Yeah, I've shot a couple from inside. I just didn't have a great sky, or else, I don't know, or else I might have shared those, but I guess I could have cheated and done a sky replacement. But I'll be back there when there's a good sky from inside. I'm not sure what lens to shoot with, Jerry. Should I go back with the Olympus and use a fisheye, or the 14 millimeter on the Sony?
I would you could. I would probably do a 35, and then maybe an 85. Get some detailed shots, and with the 85.
Okay, I see. Shooting like detail. Okay,
yeah.
I'm literally talking about sitting in the seat,
looking through the window.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about show us what that thing looked like on the inside. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm sure it might have been it's probably a manual.
Yeah, it's interesting inside, and it's definitely as aged on the inside as the outside. So maybe even bring a macro too might be kind of
cool. For sure. Yeah.
But this was shot not with the new A7R3, but with the A7 III. And this is not the 14 millimeter. This is the Tamron 17 to 28 at its widest ends at 17. And kind of like I talked about on the previous show and on the YouTube video I did, this is focus stacked and bracketed so that I'm in focus just a few inches in front of the far right side of the frame, all the way out to infinity on this. And then last weekend, like I said I was going to do, I went back to the skate park. So Shelly and I tooled around in Grand Rapids and dodged rain. Actually, it's raining in this shot a little bit. It's kind of hard to see, and I don't know if I can get it to show up. But you can see these little spots where it is. Oop, that's not what I wanted to do. Where there's raindrops floating in the air. I have no idea what I just did on the screen there, but you can see raindrops kind of falling. So we were there for a little while until it started to rain. too much. But this is with the A7R3 and the Viltrox 85 millimeter 1.8. It's a lot of fun to shoot, like with that 1.8, like a longer focal length, brighter aperture, so you get a lot of separation between your subject and people in the background. And I was really impressed at how well that A7R3 tracked that kid skating up to these tires.
Right.
And also, being that it was at f1.8, the shallow depth of field, and just being able to stay locked on to him, it was pretty impressive. The next shot was after the skate park. We ended up driving over to Grand Haven to see if there was going to be a sunset. The sky was weird.
I think there was lightning that day. I think
was.
after you left,
there was.
Walter and was shooting lightning.
Yep. Yeah, I saw that shot. He got there probably an hour after I took this photo even.
Right.
But the sky was it was so weird. To me, I felt like it looked better in black and white. And it's funny, I think, because by the time I got home, Shelly had already gone through her images, edited, and done a black and white from this scene too. And I think after I saw her photo, I just thought, yeah, I think she had the right idea. Black and white. Color didn't do it. It was weird muted colors, but
yeah.
This is with the A7R3, and this is with Tamron 70 to 180. So kind of zoomed in there a ways from way back out in the parking lot at the state park there. And this is just a single shot, so it's not bracketed, just aperture priority. Shutter speed was fast enough to where I could freeze the waves crashing out on the pier. And I honestly haven't really zoomed in on any of the files from this camera yet. 42 megapixels. That's pretty sick.
Looks good. Look at all that detail in the pier still.
That's crazy. So that's fun. It's going to be fun to learn how to crop images, because I've never had the latitude to be able to crop much with the other systems I was shooting. So you said that there was lightning that day, because there was. After we left Grand Haven, we were headed back, and by then it was starting to get dark, and we were driving along, and I thought I saw a flash off to the side of me, and I think I asked Shelly if she saw lightning, and all of a sudden, boom, there was another flash of lightning again. And I said, do you mind if we just kind of chase this weather for a minute? And she said, no, go for it. Let's do it. Right. So we just drove around. This is near just a little area, a little town called Ravenna, which is kind of in between Grand Rapids and Grand Haven. And this was my first go at using the A7R3, or honestly, really the A7, even like an evening setting or towards nighttime setting to shoot lightning. So this is at f22 ISO 50. I think my exposure time was 20 seconds on this one. And I only had a couple of shots that lightning really showed up much. Like, it was so much brighter with your eye. I think there was so much ambient light, and these were not cloud to ground strikes, but I don't know, they call them spider web or anvil crawlers. They just kind of go laterally across the sky. So they tend to be thinner and not as intense. But I did get a couple to show up. This was one of those that I actually got to show up and be visible.
So that is the Sony, correct?
Yeah, this is the Sony. Yep.
So crop that in and right around the barn and the lightning bolt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm afraid it's going to be horrible looking, because the wind was like insanely windy. And I haven't zoomed in much on it, but I know I've got some camera shake going on. It's a little wobbly. That's not horrible, I guess.
Horrible?
No.
That's a whole new shot in itself.
Yeah, like that is actually probably 100 times better. See,
and that's the thing you got to get used to doing now that you can crop.
Yeah,
I had to learn to remember to do that when I switching from my Olympus gear to my Sony. With all the megapixels, now you can create an image inside of an image. So
yeah, Shelly does that a lot, and I know you've done it. And
yeah, I do it on all my portraits for sure.
I have to learn how to see the shot inside the shot. It's a whole new thing for me, for sure.
Right.
I'll learn it. Damn it, I'll learn it. I might just have to be showing you and Shelly pictures and saying, what would you do here? And just kind of refiguring it out. And then this last shot, same thing. This one I think turned out a little bit better. The wind died down just a little bit. And so there's less camera shake going on. You can still see in the tree line, they look soft, but that's just movement from the wind. Same with the weeds down here. It was crazy windy.
That sky looks good though, man. There's no noise up there.
No. And this was, so I'm running this at 30 seconds. And at this point, I think I had moved the ISO back up. Excuse me. I had the ISO at 50 in the first shot because the sun wasn't even close to being down yet. It was still pretty bright. You can see that the horizon's pretty bright still.
Right.
And in the next shot, by this point, it was getting darker. So I did bump up the ISO so my foreground would expose properly. And so I think I'm probably like ISO 800 here. And so ISO 800, and again, for probably 20 to 30 seconds on this. And it's not wide open. It's stopped down a little bit as well, just to kind of balance everything out. But you're right. For not having noise reduction on, oh, hey, look.
Right.
A dust spot on my brand new sensor. Thank you, Sony. But yeah, it's like super clean.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty impressed, really, so far.
It's smooth like butter.
Especially considering, that it's 42 megapixels and not the 24
right.
that you would get from like the A7 III.
The 4 scares me.
Those are big pickles. 60 something.
60. That scares me a little bit.
Yeah. I know that the noise the low light isn't as good, I don't think.
Because it's got too many megapixels on that sensor, dude. That's why that A7 III is the one you should be shooting at night.
Yeah, for sure. So Steve is asking, so how has the adjustment to this how has the adjustment to the Sony been with my past Olympus feelings? It's exciting. I just look at it as, let's say I was, I consider photography an art. So let's say I was an artist and I was a painter and I was only ever given this brand of brushes that were made out of, the bristles were this material. Now I'm given another set of brushes with a whole different set of material. It's a different look. It's a different feel, different possibilities. So I'm really embracing it and just trying to stay open to it. And I get asked literally almost daily, are you not going to use your Olympus gear anymore? No, I'm going to use it. I mean, obviously I'm packing a ton of it to take out storm chasing. I think I'm just trying to really get comfortable in knowing which system I'm going to use when and how. I'm really trying to figure out what my possibilities are with the Sony. And I'm telling you right now, most people would tell you the low light and shooting at night, Sony is the bomb. So Astro work will probably most certainly be Sony for sure. I feel like I can get very similar results with portrait work with the 1.2 primes. It's not quite exactly the same, but it's really close.
It is. It's close, yeah.
And it's easier. I think it's a little bit easier because the depth of field isn't so freaking shallow on the Olympus. It's way easier to get things nailed.
Right. Yeah, then 1.2 primes are nice.
Yeah. So, I mean, Olympus won't go away for sure until everything is broken. I'm going to use it. So, and Mike says, nice to have the megapixels. He almost always shoots as R rather than the 3. Says, I'll enjoy the R files. Yeah, so far so good. I've limit just one day. I've only shot with it for one day. So, again, this trip out west, tomorrow, it's not going to be just storms. I know Mark and I, every abandoned barn or run down town or dead cow in a field, I don't know, whatever. We're going to stop and shoot all kinds of stuff. So I'll for sure get a better feel for the Sony on that point. So, is there a reason I didn't use the Olympus live composite for the Lightning? Yeah, I didn't have any Olympus gear with me at the time. That's the big reason. Honestly, if I had had the Olympus gear with me, I would have set it up, and the 2 shots that I showed you would have been one shot with all of that lightning in it. It would have been definitely a much more dramatic image. But again, having just gotten that Sony, I wasn't expecting lightning either. That was so completely out of the blue. Weather was the last thing on my mind that night. And as soon as we saw the flash, I thought, well, here we go. I'm going to figure out if I can get lightning with this thing or not. So I think I shot probably 40 pictures and I have 3 with lightning in it. Whereas with the Olympus, I technically probably could have just ran one long image and had all 3 of those lightning bolts in it and been done. So there's benefits to both systems.
Are you getting, how many times have you shot lightning with your Sony gear, meaning A7 III included? Just one time?
Yeah, I've got no.
And you captured lightning on your first time, so
yeah. And I take that back. I've gotten lightning twice. So the other, but it was at sunrise. So this was like 4 weeks ago, but it was so faint you couldn't really see it, and it really wasn't my intent to catch lightning. So this was the first time I really tried, and I got it. So I know it's just a matter of me getting.
You gotta get used to
finding those skills. Yeah.
I had to. I was so used to live composite and stuff like that, and now that I don't shoot like that anymore. I had to get used to shooting the old school way. You know what I mean?
Yep, for sure. And having never shot the old school way, really, I have to learn all that. So it'll be fun. I look at anything like this as any kind of a challenge. I take it head on. I love it. I'm not going to get frustrated if things don't turn out the first time. I know that I'll just go try it again. And Steve says he thinks 2 systems can be fun, but full frame is cool. It is. It's definitely cool. It's a different kind of Kool-Aid than what I had been drinking for the last 10 years. I'm drunk on it right now. It's a lot of fun.
That's daddy's wine you're drunk on.
Yeah, it's good. I definitely feel like my tongue is fatter and sloppier in my mouth. It's strong.
Yeah, usually the homemade stuff is the good stuff.
I think he said it's 14 or 15%
nice.
Alcohol by volume, and it tastes like black cherry Kool-Aid. So scary. Hopefully I'm not hungover in the morning. It'll make for a long drive to Kansas.
What time are you leaving?
See, that's the rub. So I pick up the rental car at noon.
Oh,
yeah. Mark said the earliest he could get out is 2.
Oh,
but he thinks he might be able to skate out around noon. So mapping everything out, I think we can probably get ourselves into just across the border from Missouri into Kansas by like 10 or 11 o'clock or something like that, which isn't bad. That guy could still get a full night's sleep, and get up the next morning fresh and charge on from there. So it shouldn't be too bad. It just depends on how much we stop and shoot too on the way.
Right.
My biggest fear with this trip, because it's not a flying trip, because it's a driving back home trip, is that somehow the weather patterns shift and go further west and push into Colorado.
Oh, and you got to keep driving.
I don't mind keep driving to get it. Turning around and coming all the way back home from that much further away is going to stink, but I don't think it's going to happen. All the weather models keep getting more and more solidified. If anything, it might push a little bit north and east, which is fine because it still keeps us in Kansas and it still keeps us in the east half of Kansas. I'm pumped. I'm a planner. So, I mean, every family vacation we've ever done here, I usually plan it months in advance. So I have a little bit of anxiety about having planned this literally over the course of a day.
You didn't plan your last trip out west though, right? With the boys? Didn't you guys just wing that one?
Yeah, you're right. Yes, you're right. We did. That was very winged. I mean, hell, we only had like one place that we were staying reserved before we left.
Right. So you'd be all right.
Yeah. So I guess I did pretty good with that. It's just weird. I like to know what's coming. I like to know what to expect. And nothing is in my control other than the steering wheel. So right. It'll be cool. I plan on vlogging it, of course. So by the time I get back, there'll be at least some sort of content for me to put together. If you're friends with me on Facebook, just follow me on Facebook. I think you can actually do that, or add people as favorites if you're curious and you want to see what this trip looks like, because I'll probably be live streaming a decent chunk, especially when things start to heat up and the weather gets really cool. I'd like other people to be able to see why I'm doing what I'm doing. Maybe get a feel for it that way, but thank you. I will definitely be safe, and I am definitely going to have fun. And yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Yeah, I don't know what else to say, but I'm pretty pumped. Do I have space for a third? I don't know. I haven't even thought about that. Are you serious?
Z-Man.
I honestly don't know the size of the SUV. I'm sure there's room. I think it's probably going to be about the size of like a Ford Edge, something like that. Whatever Enterprise gives you, I have no idea. I hate renting cars, but yeah. So, does anybody have any questions? Any questions on shooting storm photos? I've got a lot of experience with that. I just don't have a lot of experience in driving out west to do it. I've done plenty of chasing in Michigan, which stinks. I can tell you the differences between what we're going to be looking for and seeing out there versus what my experiences in Michigan are. In Michigan, generally we get like what they call a squall line. If you look at the radar, you'll see this big long strip and it's red and there's storms and lightning and everything in that. And that's what I always thought was, well, that's where the action is. Well, that's because in Michigan it usually is, because if you've got that line, lots of times on the front edge of it, you'll get that low hanging wall cloud. And those are awesome, especially when they come across the lake or across a wide open space. But what we're hoping for out there is completely different. Out there, a squall line it's cool. You'll get a shelf cloud and all that like I've seen here before. But what we're after on the radar, you'll see these very discrete blobs, like one blob here and then a gap and then another blob and then a big gap and another one. That's how you can tell when you're going to get those big mushroom cloud looking supercells. So that's what we're looking for to develop. And some of the fun things about those to photograph is that, again, depending on where you're positioned around a supercell, things look a lot different. So if we're looking up at a supercell, we'll say we're looking south to north at the supercell, they've got two sides to them. They've got an inflow and an outflow. The inflow side of the supercell, where it's drawing in all this air and moisture, at the bottom of it, it comes down and it'll have this long tail, almost like a shelf cloud that extends out. And then on the back side of that at the bottom is usually where a tornado would drop on the outflow side. But what's kind of fun is that the way that these storms develop, they tend to develop later in the day. So we'll say 2 or 3 o'clock, they really start building up. You get into the 4 and 5 o'clock towards evening time. That's when they've kind of reached peak power or what have you. At that point, you want to get around to the west side of it, because as the sun sets low on the horizon, it starts to light up the whole underside of the top of that anvil. And that's where you'll start seeing those mammatus clouds. They look like big cotton balls hanging down from the clouds.
Yeah, that makes sense. You don't want to shoot a silhouette. Yeah.
Nope, exactly. And another cool thing too is that because these are discrete cells and it's not this big long line, it's a lot easier to get yourself outside of where the rain is. So you don't have to compete with wiping your lens off all the time. Right. And again, because these build up towards the end of the day and then the sun sets, and then now you start being able to see just how much lightning is inside of these things. And I'm kind of hoping for the opportunity to shoot similar to what I showed in pictures today. They call them anvil crawler or spider web. They just kind of cascade out through the top of the cloud or the underside of the cloud and just branch out around the horizon. I've never seen anything like that since I was a kid. I think I've seen it once or twice as a little kid. So I'm kind of hoping for something like that. And just the wide open spaces. It's hard to see those here in Michigan. You go to the Thumb, is probably about as wide open spaces as it gets. So it'll be exciting to go out there and just see.
It'll be cool that you can drive around the storm.
Yeah, I've never done that. I mean, like I say, in Michigan, we get those squall lines. Those can run from the southwest corner of the state all the way to the bridge. You can't drive around that. These are just like a 30-mile around mass, and you can just country roads all the way around it and just stop and shoot.
Yeah. By the time the rain sets in here, you're soaked and storm shooting's over.
Yep, and that's always like my biggest disappointment is getting rained out and not being able to see the stuff, So Mike lives in Southern Illinois. I think that's where you live. I hope you do, Mike. But he lives in Illinois, and they're going to get this weather that we're going to get on Saturday. It's going to be over him on Sunday, but he had some, they call them cottontail clouds. I saw those. They're like a mammatus cloud. He had great shots over on Flickr, I think is where I saw his, but yeah, definitely good stuff. Cotton ball. So Mark jumped in. He said he's pumped for the chase. He's watching Twister. Yeah, good way to freak your wife out and not ever let you go do something like this again. Okay, Mike's in Central Illinois. Okay, cool. So we won't be passing through your neck of the woods. I think my maps have us just kind of skirting just under Chicago and then kind of cutting down and across. So maybe on the way back. I have no idea what way we're going or what, but it'll be interesting. So Marty says, have a great trip. Back to work for you. Cheers. You too, sir. I think Marty's in Australia, so it's not 8:46 at night for him. All righty. Well, I think I'm about ready to wrap it up. I'm done packing. I think I just need to decompress and let my mind wander a little bit. Again, thanks to everybody that jumps on the show and participates in the chat. I love the interaction with you guys. It's a lot of fun. Jerry and I talk about that all the time. And Jerry reminded me that I have this problem of saying we're going to do something on the show and then not doing it. This week we were supposed to just have everybody on who wanted to get on and be, live on air with us, not just in chat, but like on camera. And I totally forgot. I got so wrapped up in this that I completely forgot. And I talked to Jerry the other day. I said, hey, what do you want to talk about tomorrow? What are you going to bring? And he's like, I thought we were having a bunch of people on. I'm like, oh my God, I said that, didn't I? It's bad. I'm 47, folks. Okay. I'm not young.
Pretty soon we'll be doing the 2-hour episode where we rando Nautica cell phone photos with everybody in the chat.
Oh my gosh.
Try to make up for everything.
We owe you guys. I know we talk a lot and our follow through stinks sometimes, but I think everybody's pretty forgiving and understands that that life gets in the way sometimes. So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. And if Jerry reminds me 6 or 7 times before that, maybe we should just invite whoever wants to come on. How about that? Message me on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or TikTok or email or whatever. You can write me a freaking letter, drive by my house.
Or Grinder.
Or no. Jerry maybe. But anyways, so just reach out and just say, hey, I'd love to be on the show. We're always looking to have somebody on and just kind of chew the fat with, because
right. Yeah, that's always fun.
It's definitely a lot of fun. So you guys take care. And don't forget, keep an eye on me on Facebook on Saturday, especially after 12 p.m. Stuff might get interesting. You guys take care.